Devin Rose, Lionheart Catholic. In this video, I want to share this article that I read by Breanna Morello and have some reflections on it. It's pretty sad, but I think telling. She writes, Feminism, LGBTQ+, and Sam Smith have successfully destroyed the heterosexual dating pool. Women all across the country are struggling to find respectful heterosexual men to settle down with, and it's destroying our country. Among other things, destroying our country. I'll have a link to this below. I feel for this young woman. It's pretty sad. She says, look no further than my dating life. Even the men that I do meet are not chivalrous. They seem to know that they're, quote, in demand. They don't know how to be men, in other words. And she says that she blames feminism and LGBTQ plus and mothers who've let their sons, stay home, kind of Peter Pan syndrome. So she blames a lot of stuff for it. And she talks about this guy, Sam Smith. I'm honestly going to skip past this because I don't know who that is. And he's a strange musician who's put out some weird thing. But I thought this stat was really interesting. She says, according to a Gallup poll, 1 in 5 Gen Z members identifies as LGBTQ+. 1 in 10 millennials identify as LGBTQ+. I'm actually in Generation X, so the number's probably less for us because guess what? We didn't grow up with this indoctrination. And she says these numbers have doubled since 2012. And these stats aren't surprising, right? Because this is what happens when you fill impressionable young people who are going through puberty and adolescence and all the confusion and hormones and emotions, that they'll get special status and prestige if they become an alphabet soup letter. Of course, massive numbers are going to choose to become the special thing and leave the normal thing. Being the normal thing, you get nothing, right? It's boring. Being the special thing, you get special privileges. So it's incentivized, right? You incentivize certain behavior, right? And that's then the results you're going to get. And is feminism to blame? Certainly. It has deep roots in communism. Goal was to destroy the family. It's bearing its poison fruit, as we've seen. It's been successful, right? First, the woman has to work because she wants to have a career. She wants to have fulfillment. As if you can't have fulfillment being a mother of your children in your home, like most of the vast majority of recorded history and all cultures, where the wife and mother is staying home and taking care of the home and the children. Instead, you have to go get a job. And now, because it's hard to make ends meet, more and more women, quote, have to work in order for the family to pay the bills, right? That's another good strategy that and that's been caused by inflation and the hidden tax of inflation, how the Federal Reserve devalues our money. So, a lot of women too feel like if I don't go to college and get a good job, I'm like cheating. I'm not living up to my potential. I'm betraying those people who've come before me to make it possible, for me to go to college or whatever it is. She goes on and talks about it's a pretty short blog post, by the way, that you're supposed to be career driven, and companies like Disney, Nike, PayPal, Amazon, Netflix will cover your abortion, even if you have to go out of state. They'll cover your abortion, and you think maybe that's altruistic. Well, obviously, it's not altruistic. Helping a woman to abort her baby is cheaper than childbirth, cheaper than that company paying for the childbirth, than the company paying for the insurance premiums for that child and the bills, cheaper than paid maternal leave, cheaper also than the likelihood of losing that woman who the company's trained and has worked, for them, because the woman might decide she wants to be a stay-at-home mom or do a part-time job instead and be with her child and not put the child in daycare and so on. So economically, it's a great move for the companies to say, we'll pay you $4,000 to go abort your baby. That's pennies on the dollar, right? For what they would have to pay otherwise. Morally, it's repugnant. It's terrible. It's awful. but economically it makes sense, which is why we don't just base decisions off economics, right? It might be economical for me to do all sorts of immoral things, but it's not the moral thing to do. It's not the right thing to do. And, she, you know, this is sad. She says, if things continue at this trajectory, I may have to outsource the job of being my future husband to a foreigner. More on that in a second. Step it up, America. It's not me, it's you. Well, certainly it's America. But you want to outsource to a foreigner, there's demographic problems in India, in China, in many countries, especially if there's limits on how many children you can have. Otherwise, you're fined and taxed and everything, as there's been in many of these countries. Well, guess what? They've got tens of millions of more young men who are now in their 20s, 30s than they do women. They're having their own demographic implosion, in other words. And, you know, leaving aside whether one of those, she's going to go over there and marry one of those guys. I mean, it's possible, but it doesn't seem likely, right? It's a different culture. But this part here, step it up, America. It's not me, it's you. The bad news that I have is, and then I'll have some good news. America is not going to be stepping it up anytime soon. Rather, this is all going according to plan. The people who want this is succeeding. They don't want you to have children. They don't want you to be married, even. They're happy that America is being rotted, from within, and the families being gutted. That's all. It's a feature. It's not a bug. So America's not going to step it up. Okay, well, what's the solution? Well, I've got good news and bad news. And I don't know, I haven't followed this young woman's first thing I've seen from her, but she liked this comment from a person named George. God has a man out there for you, Breanna. Good job leaving Fox. So I think she was a Fox News journalist. I'll be praying for a valiant, God-fearing man to come your way. Awesome. So that's actually the solution. Oh yeah, here it is. So this is a recent thing. She wrote, Fox Corp told me to comply with the New York City COVID vaccine mandate, so I resigned. So she's following, right? She's a religious, must be a Christian, probably Protestant. The solution is you're going to have to delve into a religious enclave, a traditional religious enclave of some kind. I'm Catholic, so of course, in the Catholic Church, you can find then like-minded people who share your beliefs, your values, and you have a much better chance then of finding your future spouse, for her future husband. Out there going to a bar or going out to whatever secular place, it's a dice roll, right? That's a crapshoot. Who knows what you're going to get? So, if you're evangelical Protestant, if you're Calvinist, if you're whatever, Pentecostal, that's going to be your best bet. Now, of course, I'd say become Catholic and then become a traditional Catholic, and you're going to have a subset, a niche, and you're going to have very like-minded people there who are faithful and who share your values. And guess what? Those values are traditional values that most of humanity has embraced over the past 4,000 years, of recorded history. So that's the solution. And I don't think there is any other, but America certainly is not going to step up to help you. All right, this is Devin Rose, Lionheart Catholic. God bless.